Well, the title of my sermon today is What Every Mother Deserves, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. But I wanted to let you know that I did some research about where Mother's Day started and what Mother's Day originally was all about. Now, we all have our concept of what Mother's Day is. Now, usually Mother's Day is a big day at restaurants, right? Unfortunately, a lot of us guys and our kids were not able to prepare a meal that's sufficient to honor our mothers, so usually we're all heading to some great restaurant to celebrate Mom today or do something special for her, gifts and different things like that, cards, flowers, those kinds of things. But I wanted to let you know where Mother's Day originally started. Now, there's lots of different things that can kind of correlate, but we're going to get to kind of how our current Mother's Day in the United States began. And it starts with a mother, of course, whose name was Anne Reeves Jarvis. Now, I've done some research and I've got some links in the Bible app if you'd like to read up on some of these articles. And so this is just information that I found. You know, I'm not trying to be a historian here and get all the details of everything perfect, but I just wanted to bring some things to your attention. So in 1876, Anna Jarvis heard her mother, Anna heard her mother, Anne, recite the following prayer after teaching a Sunday school lesson. She prayed, quote, "I hope and pray that someone, sometime, will found a memorial Mother's Day commemorating her for the matchless service she renders to humanity in every field of life." Just a simple prayer, but really impactful on her daughter. And, you know, there's so much there. And when, unfortunately, Anne Reeves Jarvis passed away in 1905, her daughter, Anna, she vowed to fulfill the dream of her mother. Now, how all this began is that she made a partnership with florists. Surprisingly, that's one of the ways we still celebrate mothers today. And she had a successful letter writing campaign to state governors, which helped the holiday get recognized at the state and eventually the federal level. Now, after gaining financial backing from a Philadelphia department store owner named John Wanamaker, and I actually know a guy named John Wanamaker, but that's a different story. But after getting backing from a department store in Philadelphia in 1908, she organized the first official Mother's Day celebration at a Methodist church in Grafton, West Virginia. That same day also saw thousands of people attend a Mother's Day event at one of Wanamaker's retail stores in Philadelphia, so 1908. With her sister, they spent their family inheritance later on, unfortunately, fighting the day's designation. So things began to change, and Jarvis incorporated herself as Mother's Day International Association and trademarked the phrases Second Sunday in May and Mother's Day. And Jarvis actually crashed a 1925 confectioners convention in Philadelphia, and she was arrested for disturbing the peace. It didn't stop her. She spent the rest of her life into the 1940s actually trying to end Mother's Day. Now, it kind of took a turn there for a second. Now Mother's Day started. It started with great intentions. This mother teaching a Sunday school class, her daughter hearing this amazing prayer that somebody would just start a way to commemorate moms and all the great ways that they impact our lives. But the founder, she began to see the commercialization of Mother's Day and how things began to change and not be exactly the way that maybe she thought that it should be. It turned less meaningful and more commercial in her eyes, and up to the point where you heard me read a little bit of that story that she actually began to fight against the established Mother's Day and some of the things that were going on. Now, I'm not trying to bring today down and Mother's Day celebrations down or say we're not supposed to celebrate Mother's Day. That's not what I'm talking about. I just want to illustrate a simple point. Mothers can be both kind and cantankerous at times. right? We've all gotten in trouble with mom before. Usually we're doing something wrong, or we're getting into something we shouldn't be doing, or maybe as a teenager we get a little defiant, or some different ways where we've been in a disagreement with our mom. I don't know if you've had this situation, but sometimes it's not only our mom, but other moms get on our case about some things, right? I don't know about you, but growing up in the neighborhoods that I grew up in, it seemed like all the moms were in league with one another, so that if you were at a friend's house and you did something wrong, their mom had every right to punish you or get on your case or try to get you to change. Or if any mom saw you out the window doing something, whether you were with their kid or not, they had full authority to confront whatever you were doing. And I've gotten yelled at by more than one mom in my life, not just mine, but many others. But we've also felt that incredibly loving times that we've had with our mom at the same time, right? Mom's caring for us, taking care of us, telling us they love us, supporting us, encouraging us in a lot of different ways. We've been cared for by our moms. Moms do so many different things to help us. It's kind of a both and situation, right? And that's okay. And the reason that moms have both of those elements, sometimes there's a little bit of hardness, sometimes there's that softness, is because moms, like the rest of us, are human. We're more than just one way or one person or one unique situation where we're going to be acting the way that moms need to be. In other unique situations, moms are acting in the way they need to be in that situation. Well, we're going to talk about today Jesus and his mother Mary, and we're going to look at a few passages just really quickly because I want to kind of illustrate this point even a little bit further about how moms can have both of those kind of sides, the hardness and the softness both, and that's okay because even Jesus and his mother dealt with this. So let's dive in. In Luke chapter 2, in verse number 19, it's just one quick verse. It says this: Mary kept all these things in her heart and thought about them often. This was after Jesus' birth, and the shepherds had arrived, and they told Mary and Joseph the story of the angels they encountered in the fields. And what we see from this experience is what Mary, the mother of Jesus, did was, through all of this situation, the supernatural birth of Jesus, the angelic and the shepherds' arrival, and all these different things, the Bible says she treasured all that in her heart. And I think this illustrates something that's important, is that moms think about us more than we realize. Moms think about us more than we realize. And I think they treasure a lot of the memories we have. They think about us when we're little. They think about us all the way through we're adults. They think about different situations that we've been in contact with them and ways that we've connected with them. And so moms think about us a lot. And Mary was no different. And the Bible says that Mary thought about all these amazing things that God had done to bring her firstborn son, Jesus, into the world, and all the amazing experiences. And I think, moms, that's a good way that I want to encourage you today, too. Think about those ways that God has moved in the lives of your children. You know, there's lots of things that we can think about when it comes to our children, or maybe when it comes to our mothers. But what if we chose to treasure those good moments? Those life-giving moments, those fun moments, those God moments, those times where God really moved and worked in your life, your mother's life, your children's life, whatever it may be. Taking time to think through some of those things. Well, let's look into John chapter 2, starting with verse number 2. And we're going to look at the wedding in Cana. And again, this is a very familiar story to our church and maybe to you. But it shows another side of Jesus' mother. She was very kind and caring and always thinking about Jesus and treasuring her experiences in her heart. But let's look right here in John chapter 2, verse number 2. It says, "The next day there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee, and Jesus' mother was there." Now we're going to verse 2. I apologize. "And Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the celebration. The wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told him, 'They have no more wine.' So Jesus says, 'Dear woman, that's not our problem. My time has not yet come.' But his mother told the servants, 'Do whatever he,'" meaning Jesus, her son, "tells you to do." And this is something that I thought that was interesting here, is that mom's timing isn't always necessarily our timing, right? So Jesus is celebrating with his friends at this wedding. His family is there. There's probably plenty of people that they all know, and people are there celebrating with him. And there becomes a problem at the wedding. And so what does mom do? My son can fix it, right? You can note that pride of a mom of saying, hey, there's a situation. Have you heard about my son? Do you know what my son can do? You know, you don't know, maybe you don't know my son. Let me tell you about my son. He's got the answer. He can do it. He can get in there and get his hands dirty. He can make it work. And sometimes our moms act that way towards us. They believe in us. They know what we can do. Sometimes they want to brag on us. Now, I'm not saying Mary is doing all that in this situation, but I'm just using that to get this idea going in our head, is that sometimes the timing isn't exactly right, because mom will come along and say, hey, it's time to clean your room. Or mom will come along and say, hey, this is how you need to deal with that situation with your own child. Or mom will come along in some situation when we're thinking or doing of something else, and then mom says, hey, let's go this way, let's go do that. And so sometimes our timing, and Jesus was even that way. He said literally to Mary, he said exactly this. He said, dear woman, that's not our problem. Mom, leave me alone right now. I'm with my friends. Or, Mom, this isn't my thing to deal with. This is somebody else's problem. Or, you know, sometimes there's that little bit where, not that it's an evil or a sinful or a bad thing, but moms want to get involved in situations. And sometimes it's a situation we don't want to involve ourselves in, or, you know, I don't want to go too far down that road. But you can see that in this moment where Mary and Jesus are having that same kind of interaction that I think you've had from time to time when there's an interruption in the schedule, or mom wants to do things this way, or mom asks you to do something you're not ready or able, or it's not the time that you feel like it should be to do that exact thing. But mom knows, and she says, hey, it's time to go. It's time to do this thing. So that's okay. It's okay, because there's that both and, like I talked about. There's the treasuring everything in our hearts, and then there's the mom kind of pushing, not necessarily her agenda, but pushing us sometimes, pushing Jesus specifically into doing something where he said, it's not even my time, Mom. Come on, give me a break. I know you know the stories. You treasure all these memories. You and I have relived that story and talked about that story many times about how God's going to do all these amazing things for me. They're out of wine, Mom. We're at a wedding. This isn't the time. And you know what? That's okay to have, like I said. Well, let's continue to look at another episode in Jesus' life. In Mark chapter 3, in verse 31, we come across another story where Jesus is full-fledged into his ministry at this point, and he's doing a lot of good work, and people are hearing his teachings. They're seeing his miracles. A lot of great things are happening. People are understanding that the time of the Lord is coming, that things are changing in their nation, and all of these hopes and dreams that have been in their national consciousness for so long are starting to come alive in Jesus. So there's great crowds following Jesus, and let's look at what happens right here in Mark chapter 3. Verse 31. It says, then Jesus' mother and brothers came to see him. They stood outside and sent word for him to come out and talk to them. There was a crowd sitting around Jesus, and someone said, your mother and brothers are outside asking for you. Like I said, the situation, Jesus is in this crowd. He's teaching people. People want to be around him. They want to ask questions. They want to hear what he has to say. They want to see him do a miracle. They are desperate for his help and needing that miracle, maybe of healing or provision or whatever it may be. And mom shows up in the middle of him doing ministry. It'd be like if my mom showed up on a Sunday at church when we're all together and we're in here singing songs or I'm preaching, and then I get a note from one of the ushers comes and says, hey, your mom's in the foyer and she wants to talk to you right now. Mom, come on, give me a break. But I kind of thought about this. When mom wants to talk, mom wants to talk. Whatever the time, whatever the situation we find ourselves, when mom wants your attention, she wants your attention, and she may not let it go, and it may not be the time that you want it to be, right? You may be with your friends, and your mom tries to call or text you to get your attention. It might be some time when you're actually at work, and mom wants your attention. It may be when you're out doing something else, you're doing yard work or something, and your mom is sending you a text, and she then calls you, and then she sends a second text saying, why haven't you called me back? Then she calls another time and leaves a voice message saying, I've called you, and I've texted you, and you're not answering. I need to talk to you right now. And sometimes you get mom on the phone and you say, okay, mom, what's going on? Is there an emergency? What happened? She's like, I just wanted to tell you about what happened at the grocery store today. And we're just thinking there like, Mom, I'm in the middle of something. And not saying that those things aren't important, and talking to your mom, and I'm not trying to say moms are a bother when you text or call or try to get her attention, or you know what, teenagers and adults, kids, all of us, we need to understand that when mom wants to talk, she wants to talk, and it's okay to give her that attention, whether we feel like that is the right time or not, or something else is going on. But Jesus had to deal with a lot of the same things that you and I deal with. He had a very loving mother. But then she kind of sometimes pushed some things, and she kind of interrupted the schedule or the activity of Jesus was in. And again, not that these are bad traits, it's just the way life is, and we're all human, and we all have lives, and we all have different times and things and different priorities at different times, and none of this is bad. It's just I want to give you a description of Jesus and his mother a little bit. And let's continue. In John chapter 19, we're going to look at the final glimpse into this relationship between Jesus and his mother, but it's a really, really important one. And like I said, there's those loving, caring moments, and there's those times and situations where, mom's timing may not be exactly our timing or what we want to see or what happened at the right time, or she might have us to do something that, I don't really want to do that right now, Mom. And not that any of that is bad, but just to kind of give us an idea of the reality of our relationship with our mothers and our children. In John chapter 19, verse number 25, we're at the end, unfortunately, of Jesus' life in this episode. But who's right there with Jesus? It's his mom. She had these amazing experiences before she became a mother of God telling her some great things and telling her about Jesus, and had all these supernatural, miraculous things happen in her life. She had been there with Jesus growing up. She had seen him active in his ministry. She had been there at times when she wanted things to go a certain way, whether it's the wedding or when he's in a crowd that she thought it needs to go this way or that way. But when it was most important, she was there. And maybe you've heard this before, but it's never good when a parent outlives their child. And unfortunately, that's the situation that Mary found herself in. The good news is that Jesus came back to life and he's alive in heaven. But Mary still had to go through these difficult times. But what I want you to note about Mary is that she was there at that most difficult time. In John chapter 19, verse 25, we see this. It says, standing near the cross was Jesus' mother. Verse number 26. When Jesus saw his mother standing there beside the disciple he loved, he said to her, "Dear woman, here is your son." And he said to this disciple, "Here is your mother." And from then on, this disciple took her into his home. And what I kind of pulled out of this is that mom is there even in the bad times. Even in those difficult situations, when we've been through heartache or pain or difficulty, or maybe when we've created a circumstance and we're dealing with the consequences of our choices, mom is there. And it's just amazing how sometimes you've probably had those experiences where when you're going through something difficult, maybe the phone calls are a little bit less. Maybe when you've made a wrong decision, there might be some people distancing themselves from you. Now, we've all been through this unprecedented time, and maybe we're experiencing some of these things. But if you think about your life, there's been those times when things aren't going well, but mom was there. You could call her, you could go see her, you could talk to her. And again, not a single mom is perfect, not a single child is perfect, not a single relationship is perfect. But we see in this story, when things were at their worst, mom was right there with Jesus. And I would say that at some point or some time, and I would hope this to be true, when you're going through something difficult, mom has been there for you. Maybe there's some other woman, if your mom couldn't be there for you, supporting you, mentoring you, trying to advise you, encourage you. Sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's an adoptive family, sometimes it's just somebody who's been down that road a little bit longer. But oftentimes it's mom who's been there when you've made a mistake. As a little child, maybe your parents were called to school. Maybe something happened outside playing with your friends and you come inside crying. Maybe it's some kind of hardship or heartache when you're a teenager, when you've lost a relationship, or there's been a breakup, or something difficult has been going on, some challenge you faced that you couldn't overcome, Mom was there. Maybe it was some time when you began your life as a young adult in college or career, or getting your own place or making your own decisions, and something just didn't work out. Mom was there. Maybe it was when you started your family and you began to look around and think, I really need help with this. You knew you could talk to Mom. Maybe there was those times that you were struggling in your marriage or your family, you could talk to Mom. Maybe there was a falter at something you did or something that happened to you at your job. You could talk to Mom. Maybe you faced incredible challenges and Mom was there. And again, not every situation is exactly the same, and not every mom is exactly the same. But here in this story, and oftentimes a vast majority of moms are there, even in those bad times. Anna Jarvis heard a prayer in Sunday school from her mom and started a trend that's changed a nation for over 100 years. Now again, there were other people who were part of this and other things going around with Mother's Day and different things like that, but she was the one who started that first Mother's Day. And she started Mother's Day, first of all, the first state to have an official Mother's Day was West Virginia, where she was from. And like we read earlier, that she sent letters all across to the different states to try to push an agenda that other states would start having Mother's Day celebrations. So in 1914, just a few years after that first Mother's Day in West Virginia, where she just sent those flowers to celebrate her mom to her church and started that Mother's Day celebration, just a few years after that first backing from John Wanamaker and his retail stores, where there's a celebration in Philadelphia, it was only 1914, just a few years later, that Mother's Day was established as a national holiday. So I looked that up, and Woodrow Wilson was the president at the time, and I printed off his proclamation about Mother's Day, the first Mother's Day proclamation. So I want to read it with you. Right now it says this: by the President of the United States of America, a proclamation. Whereas by a joint resolution approved May 8th, 1914, designating the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day, and for other purposes, the President is authorized and requested to issue a proclamation calling upon government officials to display the United States flag on all government buildings, and the people of the United States to display the flag at their homes or other suitable places on the second Sunday in May as a public expression, hear this, a public expression of our love and reverence for the mothers of our country. And whereas, by the said joint resolution, it is made the duty of the President to request the observance of the second Sunday in May as provided for in the said joint resolution, now therefore I, Woodrow Wilson, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the said joint resolution, do hereby direct the government officials to display the United States flag on all government buildings, and do invite the people of the United States to display the flag at their homes or other suitable places on the second Sunday in May, now hear this, as a public expression of our love and reverence for the mothers of our country, in witness whereof I have set my hand and caused the seal of the United States to be hereunto affixed, done at the city of Washington this 9th day of May, in the year of our Lord, 1914, and of the independence of the United States, 138, signed by Woodrow Wilson, and also by William Jennings Bryan, the Secretary of State. So the first official, 1914, it was May 10th. The President signed the day prior, May 9th. There's a joint resolution in Congress the day prior to that on May 8th. And I wanted to point out exactly the point of all of this. In two places in the presidential proclamation, it says this: as a public expression of our love and reverence for the mothers of our country. As a public expression of our love and reverence for the mothers of our country. I said the title of my sermon is What Every Mother Deserves. Every mother deserves our love and our reverence. Woodrow Wilson stated that public buildings would display the U.S. flag. He stated that people of the United States should display a U.S. flag on their homes that Sunday as a public expression of their love and reverence for the mothers of our country. Not just our own, but each and every one. So what I thought would be good for us, what if we made a public display of our love and reverence for all mothers? What could we do to create a public expression of our love and reverence for all mothers? If you want to display a flag like they did 100 years ago, display a flag. Many will post items on their social medias about their mother or mothers in general or someone important to you. Many will send flowers, cards, give gifts. I actually happened to be on the phone with my mom when the flowers I sent her for Mother's Day arrived. But what happened to the founder, Anna Jarvis, of Mother's Day, the one who wrote every state governor and eventually got the president himself and Congress to declare a national holiday for Mother's Day, and when she began to change is because she saw how things became commercial. There's nothing wrong with giving flowers. There's nothing wrong with sending a card. But her point was, she wanted things to be more heartfelt, more personal. Now, not all of us are great about writing how we feel about our mom or knowing even the right words to say, and especially if sometimes that relationship might be strained. But I thought, what could we do? Not just sending a pre-made card, not just sending flowers or gifts, but what heartfelt expression of love and reverence could we give not only to our moms, but to all moms? So I want to share with you one thing that I did. And so I made my mom a card, and my mom's probably watching this video now. So I want to share with you the card that I made. Like I said, I sent flowers, and there was a little note that I could type in and put on there, Happy Mother's Day and all of that. But I wanted to make it heartfelt and more meaningful. And so what I thought about was, when I was a kid and we were in school or in church, we would make homemade Mother's Day cards. So I want to show you the card that I made with white paper, crayons, and markers. I made my own card. Are you ready for this? Ta-da! On the front of my card, if you can't see, is a vase full of flowers. My vase is blue and yellow, and there's all kinds of different colors of flowers coming out of my vase. Now, you may be surprised at how amazing, or perhaps how pitiful, my drawing skills are, but I made it with my own hands, and my mommy's gonna love it. On the inside of my card, I'm gonna read a little bit of what I wrote in here to my mom, because I wanna make a public expression of my love and my reverence for my mom and for all moms. So I wrote inside my card, and this is what it says. Dear Mom, I already told you how thankful I am that God made you to be my mom. But it's true. I am most grateful. I wouldn't like to guess what my life would be like if you weren't in it. I can remember so many times your kind eyes caught my attention. One of the best things about you is when you laugh uncontrollably. Mom, I am so thankful for your cantankerous side. I can remember many occasions that I deserved to see that side. But you need to know that it was important for me to experience that side of you. Otherwise, I might not be able to show that side of myself to others when I needed to. Thank you for loving God, for being willing to shed tears, and for loving me no matter what. Love, John. And I found a Bible verse. So this is what I wrote here. And I found a Bible verse. And my Bible verse for my mom is this. Mom, it says this: she is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. Proverbs 31:25. So Mom, whatever days come, I'm confident in your confidence that whatever we face, we're going to go through together and with God's help. I also added another picture on the inside that I don't know if you can see. I'm going to show it up here to the screen if you want to see. And it's me and my mom laughing. You can see I'm amazing at drawing stick figures. And you can see there's little chairs that have fallen down because we're laughing so uncontrollably we can't even stay in our seats. And this one right here is my mom putting her hand on her mouth while she's trying to hold in her laughter. And here's me just laughing. And you can see us says ha 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 all over the place at the top. So Mom, that's my public expression of my love and my reverence for you. And I'll be calling my mom later today as well. But let me ask you this. What heartfelt expression of love and reverence can you give to your mom? Can you give to all moms? That's the question I'd like to ask you today. On another note, I'd like to dedicate this Mother's Day to a special mom who is spending her first Mother's Day apart from her children. Her name is Esther, and recently she passed away. She's the mother of a friend of mine. She was both kind and cantankerous at the same time. And I'd like to thank her son for doing such a good job of expressing his love and reverence for his mother over the years, and in the many ways that I personally witnessed his actions, words, and care for her. So we remember you today, Esther. I wanted to share some things about my mom, another mom that was close to me, and Esther, but I also have something that I want to share with all of you. I've got a prayer that I would like to pray over you. It's not mine, I found it, but it really encapsulates what's in my heart as well. But let me pray a blessing over you. Dear God, thank you for the gift of motherhood. Thank you for the blessing it is to be called Mom. Thank you for the good plans you have in store for those who still wait to be a mom. Thank you for the numerous spiritual children you have given to so many spiritual moms and mentors. We pray that you would fill this day with favor and grace as we honor moms all around our nation. We ask for comfort for those who are grieving the loss and heartache, especially on this day. We ask for strength for those who wait for children to come back home. We ask for healing for those who have been hurt by relationships that were intended to be loving and nurturing. We ask for faith for those who will someday be moms, who find themselves on a journey that seems so hard. We ask for great encouragement and grace to cover those who have made a brave and loving choice for adoption. We ask for incredible provision and care over every single parent mom who works so hard on behalf of her children. We ask that you would remind many of those, though they do not have physical children, have the gift of being amazing hope bringers to many spiritual children they've been blessed to nurture through the years. God, thank you for the gift of life. Thank you that your heart is for us and that you are with us in all our unique journeys and pathways. Thank you that you are sovereign over every part of our lives. Thank you that your ways are perfect and you make our footsteps secure. Today we pray for refreshing, for joy, for grace, for wisdom, for great peace, for all moms, for moms to be, and for women who nurture and lead. On a personal note, Lord, would you just express right now in this moment your love for each and every mother right now? Could each and every one get a sense in their heart of the love that you have for them and that you are even thankful for how they have done their best to love their own children. But Lord, I just pray that you would pour out love in a mighty way. You said one of the fruit of the Spirit is love. Would you manifest that love through each and every one of our lives toward our mothers, and from each mother, each spiritual mentor, each adoptive mom, foster mom, each mom that may have a relationship strained. Would you just allow your love to just overflow into every life, and let that love flourish out of every one of our lives to the people that are all around us. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Whether it's a card with a personal note in it, maybe it's a text message, maybe it's a phone call, an email, maybe there's a unique gift, maybe it's the gift of time, closeness, maybe it's the gift of forgiveness and grace and mercy and restoration or reconciliation. Maybe it's some other kind of gift that you can give. Take the next few moments and as you play this next video and just see if God would lead you to some unique way to express that love. And again, not just for your mom, even though your mom's important and we need to express that, but what could we do for all moms? Every single mom. What is something that you could do? And maybe we can strategize as a church, because it's got to go beyond today, and it's got to continue moving forward into all the lives, you know. Again, we don't want to just be about us and our moms, even though that's important. That's what today is about, but it's all moms. Maybe God would lead us into some new avenue of ministry and outreach where we can support and love and come behind all moms. Well, let's just take some time to pray and ask the Lord how we can put our heart into the mothers in our world. God bless you.